In the cold silence of space, something ancient stirred. Far above Earth, the orbital city of New Geneva glittered like a floating continent. Home to Earth's finest scientists, diplomats, and defense leaders, it hovered in peaceful orbit, a symbol of humanity's progress in the galaxy. But on that quiet morning, everything changed. At exactly 7:42 Standard Galactic Time, a deep space sensor array lit up with warning tones. An object of immense size had entered the solar system, without hyperspace trails, without transmission codes, and without warning. The object slowed as it approached Earth's orbit. It was moving under its own power, steady and smooth. By the time it reached the outer edge of New Geneva's defense grid, the system had already confirmed the impossible. The ship was the Horizon. For a long moment, the control room was silent. 1,000 years ago, the Horizon had launched as Earth's first generational vessel, designed to explore uncharted space far beyond the reach of return. It carried 3,000 volunteers and a dream to touch the stars. After only 40 years, it vanished. No signal, no wreckage, just gone. Now, 9 centuries later, it had come back. But it was no longer the ship they had sent. The original Horizon had been over 3 kilometers long. The vessel now entering Earth's orbit stretched over 30. Its hull was layered with alien material, glowing with pale blue veins like living circuits. Portions of it floated slightly apart, held together by invisible forces. It didn't look like a ship. It looked like a being. Inside the command tower, Dr. Elias Cade stood at the observation deck, eyes locked on the holographic projection. He was 35, tall and sharp-featured, with the tired calm of a man used to long nights and unanswered questions. Elias had devoted his life to deep space biology and astrophysics, but even he was struggling to believe what he saw. "It can't be," whispered the technician beside him. "It is," Elias replied, his voice steady. "That's the Horizon. The original." He took a deep breath and stepped toward the central console. Around him, officers barked orders, tried to hail the ship, rerouted power to defense grids. But none of it mattered. The ship moved slowly into position above Earth, casting a faint shadow over the clouds below. Then, a sound filled the air. Not a voice, not words, just a resonance. A hum, low and rhythmic. Like music, but not made for ears. The resonance passed through systems, bypassed encryption, reached every satellite, every station, every ear on Earth. And then came a message. Simple, clear, delivered in a calm, human voice. "We are home." Panic rippled through the city. Was this a trick? A virus? A long-planned invasion? Alarms echoed through the command halls, and weapon systems powered up across Earth's defense stations. Drones deployed, shields raised. And at the center of it all stood Admiral Cairo's van, broad-shouldered, grim-faced, and unmoved by the wonder around him. He entered the control room like a force of nature, flanked by guards and aides. Elias turned to face him. "We need time to understand what this is," Elias said quickly. "We don't know what happened to the ship. We don't know what is inside it." Van's eyes never left the hologram of the Horizon. "We know enough. It disappeared. It came back. Changed. That's not something we trust. That's something we contain." Elias stood his ground. "You're preparing to destroy a piece of history. A miracle." "I'm preparing to protect Earth," Van replied coldly. "Until we confirm this thing isn't a threat, we treat it like one." Elias felt the weight of it all, years of study, years of belief that humanity could rise above fear. And now, faced with the greatest mystery of their time, the old instinct returned. Shoot first, understand later. A quiet chime interrupted the argument. The ship had opened a single access port. A glowing corridor now extended from its lower hull in invitation. Elias looked at the projection. Something deep inside him stirred. Curiosity, dread, hope. "I'll go," he said. Van's expression darkened. "You're not military." "No," Elias replied. "I'm a scientist. That's what this moment needs." For a long second, Van said nothing. Then he gave a short nod. "You've got one shot, Doctor. One mistake, and I finish this." Elias turned away and headed toward the dock bay. He didn't know what he would find inside that ancient, impossible ship. He only knew one thing. Whatever was waiting for them had come back not just with answers, but possibly with something much larger than anyone on Earth could imagine. The shuttle bay was silent as Dr. Elias Cade stepped aboard the transport. The air was thick with tension. 4 others joined him, 2 scientists, a medic, and 1 security officer in light armor. No weapons. That was Elias's request. He didn't want to greet a returning piece of humanity's past with guns drawn. Outside the shuttle's window, the horizon loomed. From a distance, it had looked massive. Up close, it was something else entirely impossible. The surface shimmered with shifting patterns, like scales of metal and light. Parts of the ship floated in strange orbits around a central core, connected by streams of energy. It was as if gravity itself didn't fully apply here. The shuttle connected with the open docking corridor. There was no resistance, no defenses, just a tunnel of softly pulsing blue light, wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. The moment the airlock opened, a gentle hum filled the cabin, like wind, but constant and steady. Elias stepped into the horizon. He had expected darkness, decay, the cold silence of a ship abandoned centuries ago. Instead, he found life. The corridor wasn't made of metal, at least, not entirely. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch, as if grown rather than built. Soft lights moved beneath the surface, following their steps like curious eyes. No dust. No decay. Everything felt, maintained, but not by machines. The team walked slowly, scanning with handheld sensors. Their readings made no sense: oxygen-rich atmosphere, Earth-normal gravity, and signs of biological activity everywhere. Yet no clear source for power or control systems. "It's like the ship is alive," whispered one of the scientists. Elias said nothing. He was already starting to believe it. They reached an opening. It wasn't a door, just a soft part of the wall that parted like a curtain of energy. What lay beyond stole their breath. A vast chamber stretched out before them, lush and green, like a tropical forest under a glass dome. Massive vines wrapped around sleek towers. Pools of glowing water rippled near gentle hills. Birds, no, something like birds, flew above them, their wings shimmering in colors Earth had no name for. And in the distance, standing calmly on a raised platform, were the people. They looked human, tall, graceful, skin glowing faintly with patterns that shifted like light underwater. Their eyes were brighter than human eyes, with irises that shimmered gold and silver. They wore no armor, no weapons, just flowing robes woven from some kind of organic material that seemed to breathe. The one in front stepped forward. "I am Solon," he said, his voice warm and smooth. "We are the Boundless." Elias stepped forward cautiously, offering no handshake, just a nod. "Dr. Elias Cade. Earth sent us when your ship returned." Solon smiled. "This is not a return. This is a homecoming." The others looked around in disbelief. Everything in this room, the life, the light, the harmony, was impossible. It shouldn't have survived 9 centuries. It shouldn't even exist. Elias took a slow breath. "This ship disappeared over 900 years ago. What happened to it? And to your people?" Solon looked up at the ceiling, but there was no sky, only soft light. "We were changed," he said. "We left the path of stars and entered the breath between realities. There, we met the Lumen." The name echoed faintly in the room, like a soft chord in the air. "The Lumen are not flesh," Solon continued. "They are energy, thought, and memory. They saw our ship, broken and lost, and helped us rebuild, not as we were, but as we could become." Elias listened carefully. "You merged with them?" "Yes. Slowly. Willingly. We learned to coexist. To grow together. Over time, our minds became more open. Our understanding changed. And the ship changed with us." Elias's scanner beeped again. The energy readings were off the charts. This entire place ran on something beyond human science. One of the scientists leaned toward him. "We're standing inside a working biosphere with unknown physics. This is a living ecosystem, inside a starship." Elias nodded. "It's a pocket universe. A controlled dimension nested within this ship." Solon looked at him with approval. "Yes. The Lumen showed us how to fold space, how to grow this place as a sanctuary. Not just for us, but for others." That word, others, sent a ripple of caution through Elias. "You want to bring others here?" he asked. "We want to share," Solon replied. "This world is not ours alone. It is an invitation." Suddenly, Elias's earpiece buzzed with static. A voice cut through, cold and commanding. "Admiral Van. Dr. Cade, this is Command. Your vitals are stable, but you've gone off protocol. We're receiving fragments of data. Report status immediately." Elias pressed the earpiece. "Admiral, we've made contact. They're human, descendants of the Horizon's crew. They're healthy, advanced, and not hostile." Van's reply was slow. "Copy that. You've got 1 hour, Doctor. Then we reevaluate the threat level." The message ended. Solon stepped closer. "You are watched. Your people still fear. That has not changed." Elias met his gaze. "They've seen ships come back with weapons. They've seen peace broken too many times. You've been gone a long time. And we bring something even longer, Solon said. A truth deeper than time. The forest shimmered slightly. Somewhere in the distance, a tree bent toward the light as if listening. Solon turned and gestured for them to follow. There is more to see, he said. Elias exchanged a quick glance with his team. They nodded. And together, they followed Solon deeper into the heart of the horizon, into a ship that had outgrown its origins, guided by minds no longer entirely human. What waited ahead, they could not guess. But they had already crossed a line no one had crossed before. The deeper they went into the horizon, the more unreal it felt. Dr. Elias Cade and his team followed Solon, the glowing-eyed leader of the Boundless, through corridors that defied traditional architecture. Some paths twisted in spirals. Others split into multiple levels at once, like folded paper. Gravity shifted subtly, never uncomfortable, just different. Plants grew along the walls, but not like Earth plants. These had translucent leaves and pulsed softly with blue-green light. They didn't seem planted, they seemed born from the ship itself. Elias tried to keep his mind focused. Every part of his scientific training told him this shouldn't be possible. A ship wasn't supposed to grow. It wasn't supposed to breathe. But the horizon had become something else, something alive. They reached a wide, open chamber. Above them stretched a dome of stars, not a screen, not a simulation, but a real window into a sky Elias didn't recognize. It wasn't Earth's solar system. The constellations were all wrong. The stars moved slowly, as if caught in a dance. In the center of the chamber stood a tall, smooth pillar. It glowed with soft golden light. Around it, symbols floated in midair, written in languages Elias didn't know, yet somehow understood. This is the heart, Solon said quietly. The core of the horizon and the entry point to the pocket universe. Elias stepped forward, reading the symbols. Some were diagrams of atoms. Others showed what looked like star maps. Still more were written in the old Earth alphabet, faded but still there. A part of the past, still preserved. You remember who you were, Elias said. We never forgot, Solon answered. The Lumen did not erase us. They awakened us. We chose to change, to become more. Elias turned. Tell me about them. The Lumen. Solon walked to the pillar and placed his hand against it. The golden light pulsed. Then it changed. Above the pillar, a shape appeared. Not solid, not truly visible, just light. A drifting cloud of energy, warm and gentle. It pulsed with patterns, like a heartbeat translated into color. This is a Lumen presence, Solon said. They do not speak with mouths. They speak with intention, with feeling. They understood us before we understood ourselves. The Lumen drifted closer. Elias felt a tingling in his skin, like static, but softer. His thoughts slowed. A calm settled over him. Memories came to the surface, his childhood, his first spacewalk, his mentor's final words. They don't read minds, Solon explained. They echo what we carry inside us. They help us face it. Elias blinked, clearing his mind. You live with them? All of you? Yes. Not inside us, not controlling us, but alongside us. Like a second breath. The medic stepped forward. Are they safe? Solon nodded. They don't wish to conquer. They wish to learn, to grow. In helping us, they saw another way of being. A way that connects rather than consumes. Elias looked around at the others. No one had seen anything dangerous. No threats. No weapons. Just peace, structured and strange, but peace nonetheless. Then Solon said something that changed everything. We did not return only to be welcomed. We returned to share. Elias froze. Share what? This. Solon gestured around them. The pocket universe. The living systems. The knowledge we've gained. Earth is struggling, resource wars, overpopulation, climate decay. We know. We've listened. The Lumen can help. This place can help. Elias's breath caught in his chest. A second chance. They weren't just offering an alliance. They were offering salvation. But with salvation came risk. Fear. Resistance. He knew what this would mean for Admiral Van. For Earth's governments. For every military leader who saw threats and gifts. Elias stepped closer to Solon. If we open this, if we bring this home, there will be fear. Some will say this is a trap, that you're here to take over. Solon nodded slowly. We understand. That is why we invite, not force. We offer entry, not surrender. Before Elias could answer, his comlink buzzed again. Dr. Cade, this is command, came Admiral Van's voice, sharp and low. Return to the shuttle immediately. New orders have come in from the Defense Council. Elias paused. What's changed? There are rumors on Earth. News of the ship has leaked. Civilian networks are panicking. Some want answers. Others want action. You have 30 minutes to report your full findings. Then Van added, colder, we are preparing contingency plans. Elias turned to Solon, lowering his voice. They're scared. If they feel threatened, they won't wait for permission to attack. Solon looked calm, but the light around him dimmed slightly. The lumen above them drifted back, almost sadly. We know what fear can do, he said. Elias clenched his jaw. If there's any chance this can work, any chance you want peace, we have to act fast. Let me talk to them. Let me prove you're not a threat. Solon placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. Then come. See the truth for yourself. And carry it home. The chamber began to shift. The stars above twisted, forming a spiral of light. The floor below them dissolved into glass. Beneath it, Elias saw a swirling ocean of colors, patterns, and stars, a universe within a universe. The lumen rose, circling slowly. Solon's voice echoed softly. Welcome to the boundless. Dr. Elias Cade sat quietly inside the observation sphere of the horizon, watching the spiral of stars below. What he saw wasn't just beauty, it was creation. A world within a world. The boundless had built it with help from the lumen, and now they were offering it to humanity. But on the other side of the stars, Earth was getting ready to shut the door. His earpiece buzzed again. The voice of Admiral Kairos Van came through, sharper than before. Dr. Cade, we've received new intelligence. Civil unrest has begun on Earth. News of the ship's return has spread. Some say it's a miracle. Others say it's an invasion. Defense Council has ordered full lockdown. If the ship makes any movement toward the surface, we're authorized to respond with force. Elias stood, jaw tight. You're preparing to destroy it. Van didn't deny it. If it's a threat, yes. We won't gamble Earth's safety. They're not hostile. They're offering help. They've created a self-sustaining universe. Clean energy, infinite data, evolved medicine, technology beyond us. They've had 900 years to become something else, Van interrupted. We don't know what they are now, or who's really in control. Elias closed the channel. Solon entered the chamber. His presence, always calm, seemed dimmer today, like he sensed the growing fear outside. They are afraid, Solon said softly. Yes, Elias admitted. They see the unknown, and their first instinct is to destroy it. They are not wrong to fear, Solon said. Fear is part of survival, but it must be balanced with understanding. Elias nodded. I need to show them what I've seen. The boundless. The lumen. The truth. Solon raised his hand and motioned Elias to follow. They moved through corridors alive with shifting light. Along the way, other boundless walked calmly, watching Elias with eyes full of ancient memory. They had been human once, crew members, scientists, engineers. Now, they were something more. Yet, they still remembered Earth. Still felt loyalty to their origin. Solon brought Elias to a circular room deep in the ship's core. This was once the bridge of the horizon, he said. Now it connects all realities we've touched. It stores memory, voice, and truth. Holograms flickered to life around Elias. The original Horizon crew, captains, families, children. Footage from early days, birthdays, laughter, exploration. Then, the storm, the rift in space, the chaos. The ship nearly torn apart. Then came the light. The lumen. Elias watched it all. The boundless hadn't become this overnight. They had survived loss, isolation, and the unknown. They hadn't surrendered their humanity. They had expanded it. He turned to Solon. Give me something I can show them. Something they can't deny. Solon hesitated, then placed his palm on the console. The ship shifted. A glowing orb rose from the floor, hovering silently. Inside it swirled memories, data, energy signatures. Proof. This will speak through you, Solon said. But you must carry it with your spirit open. The lumens speak only where there is honesty. Elias took the orb. It was warm, like holding sunlight. He called his team back to the shuttle. They were waiting, nervous but loyal. The pilot, a young woman named Callan, looked worried. Command says we need to evacuate now. They've moved defense cruisers into high orbit. Admiral Van isn't waiting much longer. We go now, Elias said. We bring the truth. As they launched from the horizon, the ship didn't move. It didn't defend itself. It simply waited. In orbit, Earth's defense fleet hung like a net of steel. Massive cruisers with particle cannons armed and ready. Drones drifted silently, scanning every movement. Inside New Geneva's command center, Admiral Van stood before the council. He looked down at the live feed from Elias's shuttle. He's returning. Let's see what he brought. Elias entered the council chamber 30 minutes later, carrying the glowing orb in both hands. He looked tired, but clear-eyed. The council members watched him with doubt. Van crossed his arms. "Well, Doctor? What is this ship? What are those people?" Elias stepped forward and placed the orb on the floor. Light filled the room. Not just visuals, feelings, emotions, memories. The council felt warmth, sorrow, fear, hope, all the moments the Boundless had endured. They saw the Horizon's journey through the rift, the first contact with the Lumen, the years of learning and loss. They saw Solan's birth, his parents holding him in a growing world that wasn't Earth, but still called itself home. They heard voices. "We did not forget you. We did not become less. We came back to offer a path forward." The light faded. Silence filled the chamber. Some council members looked shaken. Others sat in quiet awe. One woman was crying. Van didn't speak for a full minute. When he finally did, his voice was low. "That was not what I expected." Elias stepped forward. "They have changed, yes, but they never stopped being us. They grew, and they want us to grow too." Another council member spoke up. "What if this is manipulation? What if it's designed to gain our trust?" Elias nodded. "Then we test it. We learn from it, but we do not destroy it." Then looked away, jaw clenched. But he gave no order. Outside, in the vast dark, the horizon waited. The air in New Geneva was thick with pressure. Inside the main council chamber, leaders whispered, analysts compared data, and technicians ran simulations of possible outcomes: peaceful, hostile, and catastrophic. On every screen, the horizon remained still, suspended above Earth like a silent giant. Though the Boundless had made no move, the fear of what might come next was spreading fast. Admiral Kairos Van stood on the balcony of Command Tower 3, arms behind his back, eyes locked on the horizon. His jaw was tight. His mind was calculating. Below him, massive defense cruisers hovered in formation. Their weapons were charged, tracking systems active. A single command from him could launch a full-scale orbital strike. Every missile and beam would hit within seconds. The horizon might survive, but the Boundless would not. He didn't want to fire, but he had made peace with doing so if that was what Earth needed. Behind him, footsteps approached. It was Dr. Elias Cade. "They listened," Elias said. "The council saw everything. And they're still afraid," Van replied without turning. "They have a right to be. But you also have a choice." Van finally turned to face him. "If we wait, and that ship proves dangerous, it won't be just a mistake. It will be the end of us." Elias reached into his coat and removed a small device. It was a communicator modified by the Boundless. Solan had given it to him before he left the horizon. "Then let me show you something," Elias said. He activated the device. The soft blue light rose from the communicator. A voice, not a sound, not a language, but something deeper filled the air. Van didn't just hear it. He felt it. "We do not come to take. We do not come to rule. We come to offer." Then came images, clear and sharp. Not projections, but direct impressions, a memory of Earth, once dying, healed by shared technology, people learning to communicate with energy-based life, diseases fading, clean skies, children walking in cities powered by living light. Van stepped back. "What is this?" Elias answered gently. "A glimpse of what can be, if we choose trust." Van was silent for a long moment. Then he asked, "And if we choose wrong?" Elias didn't flinch. "Then we face the consequences together. But the greater failure would be killing a miracle because we were too afraid to look at it." An aide rushed into the chamber. "Sir, sensors show energy build up on the horizon. It's not a weapon. It looks like a signal array." Van's voice sharpened. "Targeting Earth?" "No, sir," the aide replied. "Targeting the galaxy." Elias turned, his eyes widening. "They're broadcasting." Outside, on the ship, spires extended from the hull, glowing with bright golden light. A pulse rippled through the atmosphere, not harmful, but powerful. It carried data, language, and a message of peace. Not just to Earth, but to every listening system in the nearby star sectors. The Lumen were speaking. They were inviting more than one world. Earth's window of choice was closing. The Council reconvened an emergency session. Two options were on the table: initiate a limited alliance and observe the Boundless with strict conditions, or launch a preemptive strike and destroy the horizon before others could reach it. The vote was deadlocked. The final decision fell to Admiral Van. Back in the chamber, Elias faced him one last time. "You're not just deciding for now," he said. "You're deciding what kind of species we want to be." Van looked at the silent screens. At the ship that had returned, not with weapons, but with wonders. And still, part of him hesitated. He pressed a secure code into his wrist pad. The countdown to strike began, 60 seconds. Silence filled the room. Elias stepped forward, desperate. Then let me speak to them. Let me go to the horizon. Let me show them Earth is listening. You won't have time, and said, voice low. The fleet is already locked in. Then Elias did something no one expected. He took the communicator and pressed it to his chest. A flash of light. And suddenly, Elias was gone. Disappeared. A second later, he reappeared on the bridge of the horizon. The lumen had answered his call. Back in orbit, every defense scanner lit up with new readings. Elias was transmitting from the ship, live. His voice rang across every channel. This is Dr. Elias Cade. I stand here not as a soldier, not as a politician, but as a human being. We were lost once. This ship returned to offer us something better. Not control, not power, but choice. We can choose fear, or we can choose to listen. He paused, hand resting on the console. If we destroy this ship, we destroy the best part of ourselves. Seconds ticked away. Van watched the screens. 30 seconds left. The room held its breath. The council turned to him. Admiral. Van looked once more at the horizon, then at Elias standing alone on its bridge, speaking to a planet. He exhaled slowly. Then he pressed his palm on the terminal. Abort launch. All systems stand down. The room erupted. Some gasped, some cheered, some just sat in stunned silence. Van stood quietly. Let's see where this takes us. Far above, the ship pulsed gently. No weapons. No threats. Just light. And inside, Elias closed his eyes in relief. The tension across Earth dissolved slowly, like fog retreating after a storm. News of Admiral Van's last-minute stand-down traveled fast. Within hours, every global news channel was broadcasting the same image. The horizon, glowing in Earth's orbit, silent but alive, surrounded by defense ships now standing down. No missiles fired. No weapons discharged. Just one ship, waiting patiently, offering something no one could yet fully understand. On board the horizon, Dr. Elias Cade stood before the central pillar in the heart chamber. Around him, the Boundless watched in stillness. The lumen hovered gently above, shifting light across the air like water ripples. No one spoke, but everyone knew something had changed. Solon approached. You stopped the strike, he said softly. I didn't stop it alone, Elias replied. They chose to listen. Solon nodded. Then it begins. Elias had returned to the horizon not just as a visitor, but now as a bridge, a living link between Earth and what lay beyond. Over the next few days, he worked with both sides. Messages were exchanged. Data shared. Medical scans confirmed that the Boundless were still human at their core, their DNA enhanced but untouched by disease or decay. The lumen, though unmeasurable by conventional science, proved harmless, symbiotic, not parasitic. Slowly, the fear began to lift. The Earth Council voted to open official contact under strict observation. A shared research team was formed. Elias was named Chief Liaison, Earth's first ambassador not just to an alien species, but to a parallel universe grown inside a ship that had once been lost in the stars. Ships came next, slow, cautious landings between the horizon and Earth. Scientists, philosophers, engineers, even artists all stepped onto the Boundless vessel, their minds wide with wonder. Inside the ship's living ecosystem, they studied floating trees that grew data crystals. They touched pools that recorded memory. They heard the lumen, not with ears, but with emotion. They saw machines that grew themselves. And most important of all, they saw harmony. The Boundless had built a world without war, without poverty, without greed. Not because they were perfect, but because they had help. The lumen didn't fix everything. They simply made the humans more aware of each other, of their choices, of their shared future. Elias documented it all. He wrote thousands of pages, recorded hours of logs, led tours through the ship's shifting halls. And each night, he returned to the same question. How did we almost destroy this? Admiral Van never gave a public answer. But privately, he visited the horizon. Just once. He stood on the observation deck beside Elias, arms crossed, watching the swirling stars of the pocket universe inside the ship. I still don't trust it, he said. Elias didn't argue. But, Van added, I'm glad I didn't destroy it. They stood in silence. Then Van turned to go. Take care of it, Doctor. Take care of them. And he left. Years passed quickly. A second vessel was grown, not built, using shared Earth technology and boundless knowledge. It was smaller than the horizon, but faster. It would carry a mixed crew, human, boundless, and volunteers from Earth's allied worlds. Its mission: explore peaceful first contact across new dimensions and star systems. They named it the Sea Light. Before launch, Elias stood before the young crew. Many had never been to Earth. Some were born aboard the Horizon. Others came from Mars, Europa, even distant Concord planets. Elias looked at them and smiled. "Remember this," he said. "We were afraid once. We almost turned away. But we listened. And that changed everything." The Sea Light launched quietly, drifting into space on currents of energy guided by lumen light. Back on Earth, life began to shift. Cities slowly adopted boundless energy systems, clean, endless, and silent. Old industries changed. Wars became rare. The fear that once ruled over the unknown began to weaken, replaced by curiosity. Elias returned often to the Horizon, his true home now. He walked its living halls, listened to the soft whispers of the lumen, and taught new arrivals what it meant to trust something different. One evening, he stood alone on the bridge. Outside the window, 2 Earth ships passed quietly by, no longer on alert. No more targeting beams. Just light. Solon joined him. "Do you miss the Earth you once knew?" he asked. Elias smiled faintly. "I think Earth became something better." Solon nodded. "So did we." Together, they looked out into the stars, watching the Sea Light vanish into a shimmer of folded space. It was not the end. It was the beginning of something new.